Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of the many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press is for Friday, March 7th, 2025. And the front page story is a kind of a tragic story. The Plumas store completely destroyed by fire. The picture shows Plumas firefighters work to control the blaze that broke out at the Stop and Shop on Sunday, March 2nd. By Ken Waddell, Neepawa Banner and Press. Plumas Stop and Shop store at Plumas burned down on Sunday, March 2nd. In an interview with the Neepawa Banner and Press, Plumas Fire Chief Matthew DeHollis said the fire was first noticed by a community member who was at the curling rink. Some fire department members were curling at the time of the fire and went running to the fire hall. DeHollis noted that it was only a matter of minutes until the firemen and fire truck got to the scene, but by then the back end of the building was fully engaged by the flames. DeHollis said the store carried everything, including some combustible material, so the firemen had to be somewhat cautious in fighting the fire. Fortunately, no firemen or community members were injured in the fire. The store was not open at the time of the fire Sunday evening and had been closed since the regular closing time on Saturday. DeHollis said the cause of the fire is not known and is being investigated by the Office of the Fire Commissioner. As local fire chief, Matthew DeHollis said he wanted to thank all who came to fight the fire, including departments from Gladstone, Glenella, Riverside Colony, Emerald Colony, Matt Rempel-Bacco, and Westlake Ventures, some RM councillors and staff, plus many community members. And pictures are more views, courtesy of Kira McCormick, Adema, and Donna Latch. The Neepawa Banner and Press is grateful for a report from Donna Lack at Plumas. Lack wrote, "It's very difficult to share a photo from last night's devastating fire, but so many things need to be said." Lack, who is likely speaking on behalf of the whole community, said, "First, our heartfelt gratitude to Randy and what he gave this community with his store. We are so sorry for your loss. We know that you are concerned for the community because that's who you are. It's people like you who are beating heart of our community. It will take time to navigate forward from here, and we want to give you grace and support. Our minds were all reeling through the night, thinking of all the implications to our town. Thank you to the local firefighters who ran out the back door of the curling rink when they heard of the fire, while playing in the semifinals of our big bonspiel. Thank you to all the local firefighters and fire departments from Gladstone, Glenella to Hutterite colonies. The risk and sacrifice you take for us every time you suit up is deeply appreciated with much respect." Lack noted that the curling volunteers who never missed a beat after working endless hours for the bonspiel and went straight to supporting the firefighters with food and drink. This is also the beating heart of our community, which includes the Plumas Lions Clubs. This is a huge blow to our small town, but our community spirit will drive us forward to somehow figure out where we go from here and how we support those who depended on that store, our only store in town, the place where you could get milk, bread, fruit, a coffee maker, a warm jacket, and boots, a cooler, bottle of wine, a set of knives, paint, dog food, and much more. And moving on. Icy sidewalks pose challenge for Neepawa pedestrians, and a section of sidewalk as it appeared after the recent weather of overnight freeze, by Owen Devereaux. The recent warm weather, combined with colder conditions overnight, have caused several sidewalks across Neepawa to become extremely icy. While that is an annual tradition for most Manitoba towns, one local resident says we are, as a community, are not doing nearly enough to deal with the problem. The build-up is making the sidewalks treacherous for people out walking, said Jacqueline Rose, who has lived in Neepawa for 9 years. If the options are walking down the center of the street or using some of these sidewalks, dodging the traffic actually feels safer. Rose shared her frustration with the Banner and Press after recent challenges walking from her residence on First Avenue to her job on Mountain Avenue. A walk that for her normally takes 12 to 15 minutes recently turned into a 35-minute adventure of slipping and sliding, even with winter grips on her shoes. While Rose did single out the sidewalks along Highway number 16 as a specific location of concern, she did that in conversations with co-workers, they've reported similar issues in other parts of town. The Banner and Press contacted the town in regard to that particular section of sidewalk. It was confirmed that the town does look after that area and that Public Works would go out with sand to provide more grip. Everyone needs to help this time of year. When it comes to sidewalk safety, it is more than just the town of Neepawa who is responsible. In residential areas, all local homeowners that have sidewalks crossing through their property are asked to assist, if they can, by clearing pathways. The same request is made in Neepawa's downtown businesses, with most of them doing their part to help. People are also asked to contact the town if there are locations of concern during the conclusion of winter and spring-fall. And pictured at the bottom is a layer of sand placed down on a slippery section of sidewalk. And an emotional and humbling evening. Neepawa's Mary Murray receives Coronation Medal. And pictured left to right, Dauphin Swan River MP Dan Mazer presents Mary Murray with her certificate and King Charles Medal. And pictured below is the King Charles Coronation Medal by Casper Warehan. The long-standing record of dedication and service of a Neepawa resident was recognized last Friday. That evening, Mary Murray was a recipient of the King Charles III Coronation Medal. This medal and certificate is a Canadian honor which was made to mark the coronation of King Charles III and recognize individuals who have made significant contributions to their community and the wider region and/or to Canada. The medal and certificate were presented to Mary by Dan Mazer, MP for Dauphin Swan River, Neepawa, at the Neepawa Legion. Mary was accompanied by her granddaughter, Haley, who aided with the pinning of the medal. The evening was very emotional. It was very humbling, said Mary. She added, Dan Mazer was reading the statements out, and I couldn't recognize it as me. It was almost as if he was talking about somebody else, because I never realized that what people thought and that sort of thing. But I've tried to really be involved in the community the time I've been here. As of 2025, Mary has lived in Neepawa for 55 years, having moved here in 1969. Since then, she has held affiliations with a number of community groups. These groups include the Beautiful Plains Horticultural Society, the Neepawa chapter of the Royal Purple, the Neepawa Elks, and the Neepawa Legion, and the Tangled Threads Quilt Guild. Also stemming from her passion for quilting is a long list of quilting projects numbering in the thousands, which have been made to support a variety of initiatives. These quilts have supported Canadian veterans and returned Canadian soldiers, sick children, the local hospital, local fundraisers for Ukraine, the annual rolling barrage, and much more. The quilts made for military-related initiatives hold a particularly special place for Mary. When she was just 3 years and 8 months old, her home in London, England, was bombed in a blitz. They had lost everything, and the soldiers had to come and dig them out. I never forgot that, said Mary. Multiple members of her family have also served in the military, including an uncle named Charlie. Charlie was in a bomb squad which aided the Princess Patricias scouting ahead of them and sweeping for explosives and traps. This particular connection has led her to creating several quilts for the Patricias. Her family's military connection still persists today, as one of her nephew's sons is in the British forces. The Neepawa Banner and Press extends heartfelt congratulations to Mary Murray on this momentous occasion. And right in the center by Ken Waddell, the check is in the mail. Whoops. The old story goes that the check is in the mail. That statement is usually true. I was perplexed a few weeks ago when we started to hear about post office boxes being broken into and contents stolen. I couldn't figure out what was to be gained by robbing post office boxes. Almost nobody sends cash in the mail these days, so I doubted that could be the reason. Then somebody told me that many credit card renewal envelopes were being taken, and now that activating a credit card is more automated than it used to be, perhaps that was the reason. Then about 3 weeks ago, I was checking our accounts receivable and came across an account from a long-time customer that wasn't paid. That seemed strange, but when I called them, they said, "Oh, yes, that was paid." They checked their records, and they had sent us the check, and it had actually been deposited. The problem is, it had not been deposited by us. So who did deposit the check? The customer went to their banking institution and found out the check had been deposited to an account, but not ours. It had been deposited to an account at a bank where we don't have an account. That was a mystery, but by asking at my banking institution and at the one where the check was deposited, this is what we think happened. The check was stolen from our mailbox at Canada Post. It was deposited by way of a night deposit at the bank, not to the thief's account, but to another person's account where the thief had gained access. As soon as it was deposited, they could withdraw cash. I assume there would have been a cash withdrawal limit on the account, but there was nothing stopping the thief from going back the next day and the next and withdrawing the limit again. If the real account holder didn't check their account or go over their statement at the end of the month, they would never know that money went in and out of their account. If the thief was smart, and we have to assume they are, then they would be careful to never withdraw more than the total value of the check or checks they deposited. That way, the affected account wouldn't look like it was out of balance by very much at the end of the month. Now, here's the kicker. I have verified with at least 3 banking people that check fraud is rampant, and there is a theft ring operating in Western Manitoba. Isn't that comforting to know? I was also told that the RCMP are on it, but I assume it will be difficult to prove for sure. I believe bank machines are protected by surveillance cameras. In contrast, there are many post offices that have been broken into, but post offices apparently don't have security cameras. I find all this very upsetting. It's not that we don't have enough to worry about with everything else that is going on in the world. I was told by a banker that the RCMP are looking into this and many other problems. I was so frustrated that I muttered, it would be best for the thief or thieves if the RCMP catch them before I did. And Home Buddies by Rita Friesen. Victories. It's not often that I am stymied when making a quilt. I was. The colors are perfect, the design pleasing, the presentation acceptable. The original plan was to quilt as I go. I've done that before. This time, no matter how carefully I watched the tutorials, yes, plural, nothing made sense. Okay, so simply start and surely the work will fall into place. No. The end result was opening and unstitching an entire row of the quilt. Thankfully, I conceded before trying more rows. Plan B then, tying the quilt. I've done that before as well. Placing the backing wrong side up, layer in the fill, place the pieced quilt top on top and start tying. Knots every 5 inches in any direction. Problem? I've shared with friends that my thumbs are more decorative than useful, and I proved it. The backing is a fairly tight weave fleece-like fabric. There was no way I could insert a needle and bring it back up without using a thimble to push the needle down and a needle nose plier to pull it all the way through. Push, pull, tie, and repeat for every knot required. The end result wasn't what I had envisioned, but the gift was well received anyways. That project was on the go for weeks longer than it should have been. I would pick it, try it again, sew, pick apart, and walk away. And now it's done. Last week, I scheduled an oil change for the car. Between the temperature, the wind factor, and the icy walking, I chose to bring my tablet and read a book online. Forgot the detail. I'm not familiar with the settings on the tablet. Barely find my way around my phone. Too proud to seek help. I sat and thought it through. Aha! Log in as a guest with my phone and it will sync to the tablet. I did, it did, and I happily read away. For many folks, that was no-brainer. For me, a major victory. It's almost 9 years that I have lived in this home. I've grown accustomed to lights flickering, replacing burnt-out bulbs in one room in particular, and having a light dim when the printer is in use. I'm used to older homes and flickering lights. The other day, when the microwave was in use, it was surging and the toaster was struggling. That was the tipping point. At the urgent urging of my housemate, I called an electrician who recommended one. Within an hour, a pleasant, knowledgeable professional was solving the problem. The electrical panels are now on the outside wall of the laundry room. Somehow, between the vibrations of the train thundering past and the washer and dryer jiving away, some connections had slightly loosened. After checking all visible connections, we were asked to turn on the appliances, the oven, the microwave, the dryer, the toaster, the kettles, the fans, and the lights. Not a flicker, not a dimming light or flicker anywhere. Major victory. These past few weeks I've been struggling with clear thinking. Grief will do that. I'm improving daily. I rejoice with every victory, great or small. And Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine, Walking the Road of Misunderstanding. The people of Jerusalem had never seen anything like this. Jesus, the prophet of Nazareth, had just entered the city, riding on the back of a donkey's colt. This, they said, is what we were told to expect. This is what Zechariah the prophet said would happen on the day our Messiah, our deliverer, our King would be revealed to us. The prophecy has been fulfilled. Our King has come. Let's see what he will do next. Most of those who saw Jesus enter the city believed that he would act quickly to draft an army, lead a revolt against the Roman Empire, and set up an independent kingdom of Israel. They were looking for a king who was a direct descendant of David, Jesus was, and would take back all of the land over which David and Solomon had ruled. The priests and other Jesuit religious leaders had one additional expectation. The Messiah would be subject to them. He could be the top political and military leader in the country, but they were leaders of the state religion. They had more power than the king and could depose him if he failed to abide by the rules they set. But Jesus did none of the things the religious leaders and people expected of him to do. Instead, he stopped at the gates of the temple and entered its outer courtyard. He found it filled with merchants selling sacrificial animals and money changers trading common currency for temple shekels, all at inflated prices and high exchange rates. Seeing this, Jesus took immediate action. The merchants and money changers were expelled from the temple property. "Get rid of these things," Jesus said. "This is my Father's house. It is to be a house of prayer. You have made it a den of thieves." The priests and Jewish religious leaders were incensed at Jesus' actions. This was Passover time. The merchants and money changers provided a valuable service to those who had come to worship God in Jerusalem. This was one of the 3 fundraisers held each year to raise money for the upkeep and operation of the temple. One did not just walk in unannounced and destroy what these people were doing, but Jesus did. And when they saw that, the people began to lose faith in Jesus. He might have ridden into the city as the prophets said he would, but when he didn't do what they expected a Messiah to do, they rejected him, just as they had rejected others before him. There wasn't much Jesus could do. He sadly walked away. People didn't understand why he had come to earth, even when he told his disciples that he hadn't come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many, Mark 10:45. They still didn't get it. One of them eventually betrayed him to his enemies. Jesus isn't the only one who had to walk the road of misunderstanding. All prominent leaders, political, business, educational, community, or religious, have had to deal with people who either don't understand why they make decisions they did, or who think they know and share their views with others, only to be proven wrong later on. In this life, we will always meet people who will not understand why we believe what we believe, or why we choose to live out our lives as we do. Don't let that bother you. The Bible assures us that when our way pleases him, God will cause our enemies to be at peace with us. Proverbs 16:7. And we have thumbs up and thumbs down. Thumbs down from Terry Bradley. "Well, Neepawa, glad to see you keep your streets in the same shape in winter as you do in summer. I don't understand why they can't be scraped in the warmer weather. Now it's just all ruts and a skating rink out there. Well, I guess maybe fingers crossed you might get more than one street fixed this summer, but not likely. And what's with the handrail blocking most of the sidewalk at Old Home Hardware? Guess anything goes now in town. No bylaws." And a thumbs up from Sonia Patterson, the librarian at Neepawa Middle School. A huge thumbs up and a shout out from all of us at Neepawa Middle School to the amazing Titans hockey team. They scored big with our students by visiting classrooms and bringing stories to life for I Love to Read Month. Your time, energy, and enthusiasm made a lasting impact. Thank you for being such fantastic role models. We appreciate you. And a thumbs down from Bob Tremaine of Neepawa. Do you know why there are no potholes in heaven? Because they're in Neepawa, Manitoba. And a thumbs up from Robert Smith of Edrins. To all our wonderful local Canadian businesses that will continue on to give up us, the residents of West Central Manitoba, the great daily services that we, the consumers, greatly appreciate each and every day, that we need their goods and services. And a thumbs down from Robert Smith of Edrins. Surprise, surprise. Donald Trump, President of USA, implemented 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, raising the tariffs on China imports from 10 to 20%. Shrove Tuesday pancake suppers will be busy with conversations. And a thumbs down from Jacqueline Rose of Neepawa. Thumbs down to the town of Neepawa, or whoever is in charge of the sidewalks along Highway 16. The sidewalks are dangerous this time of year, to agree that myself and other pedestrians have to walk on the road and jaywalk to avoid ice. A 12 to 15-minute walk to work because of ice took 30 minutes recently. No sand anywhere. And letters, tariffs and trade, now what? By Cam Doll, the General Manager of Manitoba Pork Council. This too shall pass is a Persian proverb used to encourage hope when times are difficult. Does this saying apply to the current U.S. President's confrontational approach to allies and friends? Does it apply to the U.S. administration's isolationist trade policies and tariffs? It probably does apply in the long term, but today hope is in short supply for many Manitoba farmers. Manitoba exports about $9.3 billion worth of agriculture and food products every year. This represents 13% of the province's annual gross domestic product. Almost half, 46% in 2024 of these exports were shipped into the U.S. On March 4th, President Trump carried through on his threats to put tariffs of 25% on almost all Canadian exports outside of oil and gas. This means that half our agriculture and food exports become 25% more expensive with no return to farmers or processors. The negative impact of this will reverberate throughout every community in Manitoba, large and small. Tariffs do not come as a surprise. The president talked about tariffs throughout his election campaign. The current U.S. administration views trade surpluses as a foreign subsidy provided by U.S. taxpayers. The president's closest economic advisors are advocates for tariffs for both revenue generation as well as a tool to drive manufacturing to the U.S. Given these views, it is likely that these tariffs will be with us for some time. Many are predicting that a recession is coming. Looking at the pork sector as an example, it is not hard to see why these predictions are being made. The sector supports 22,000 jobs in Manitoba, in almost every part of the province. The industry contributes $2.3 billion to the provincial GDP. Our largest export market is now significantly disrupted, putting those jobs and economic contribution at risk. Pork is not alone. A recent survey by the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce found that over 60% of businesses will be negatively impacted, with seeing impacts already. Governments need to act decisively and rapidly. We have seen positive action from the government of Manitoba, with the Premier, together with his provincial counterparts, engaging with decision makers in the U.S. cabinet ministers like the Minister of Agriculture, Ron Contishan, have been reaching out to strategic partners in state capitals. The establishment of the Premier's U.S. Trade Council was a positive step, but more can and must be done. The province should consider leveraging their Buy Local campaign to partner with the other two prairie provinces to further boost consumer demand here at home. Longer term, both the federal and provincial governments should be looking at incentives for investments that would help support export diversification and increase trade between provinces. We also need to have a strategic plan going into the renegotiation of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. The aggressive shift in U.S. foreign and trade policies over the past 2 months clearly shows us that the renegotiation of our most important trade agreement will be difficult. We must be more prepared than we are today. Canada has responded to the U.S. tariffs with our own duties. We really had no option. But a protracted trade war with the U.S. will weaken our province and our country for years to come. There's hard work to be done by both exporting industries like agriculture and governments to prevent that from happening and to recharge that hope for the future. And Out of Helen's Kitchen by Helen Drysdale. Upside down cake. Bake and flip it. Upside down cakes have been a staple of family gatherings and potlucks for years. This dessert began as a skillet cake, which was a cake made in a cast iron skillet on the stove top and flipped before serving. It was made this way as most people did not have ovens at the time, so cakes were cooked on a stove pot. The earliest known recipe for upside down cake was published in 1876 in a cookbook called American Cookery. Apples or cherries were often the fruit used to top the cakes. In 1901, Jim Dole started the Hawaiian Pineapple Company, now known as Dole, and began producing and marketing canned pineapple. Pineapple had been grown in Hawaii since the early 1800s, and there were canneries there by the 1880s, but no company canned on the scale of Dole business. Dole's machine operation could peel, core, and cut 100 pineapples per minute. Dole needed his market to grow. In 1925, to help expand the market for canned pineapple, the company ran a contest for pineapple recipes. 60,000 submissions came in for pineapple recipes to be judged by a panel of food specialists. The chosen recipe would go into a cookbook called Pineapple as 100 Good Cooks Love It. The winner of the $50 cash prize was Mrs. Robert Davis of Norfolk, Virginia, for a pineapple upside down cake recipe. It is said that 2,500 of their 60,000 submissions were recipes for pineapple upside down cake. The company advertised the downpour of that particular recipe to promote the popularity of the dessert in increasing the sale of canned pineapple. In the 1920s and 30s, upside down pineapple cake was considered special as pineapple was a very glamorous fruit. I find this recipe in most old cookbooks, especially from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We usually think of pineapple for this dessert, but many fruits work. Cranberries, tropical fruits such as mango, apples, peaches, or whatever fruit you fancy. I like upside down cakes as they are perfectly easy to make and perfectly delicious. And she's included a recipe for a banana upside down cake. And pictured on the bottom left, water safety training at Lake Irwin. Instructors and students from the Manitoba Emergency Services College recently participated in the ice rescue portion of the PFPP program, which is currently underway in Brandon. And the photos from Rain Prior. Your Listening Ear by Delcy Martin, Unbreakable Bonds. In my column, I speak a lot about emotional connection to family, friends, and intimate partners. But there is a major emotional connection that I have neglected to speak on. Your connection with your pet. Pets are not just animals. They have become family. We connect with them in ways that's beyond human understanding. Yet we know that the connection is there. I believe that we connect with animals on a spiritual level, and we see proof of this in how well animals can help us heal. Petting, cuddling animals releases oxytocin in our body. Oxytocin is a hormone that reduces stress and helps to promote feelings of comfort. Spending time with animals also lowers cortisol levels, the hormone associated with stress. Playing with an animal causes your body to release endorphins, the natural painkillers. In addition to their effect on hormones, animals such as dogs and horses have been used for decades to help people cope with anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses like PTSD. Emotional support animals not only provide comfort, but can provide companionship during a time when someone can feel most alone. Interacting with other pet owners helps with socialization and meeting like-minded individuals. Walking a dog or riding a horse are forms of exercise and can promote overall well-being. Caring for a pet provides structure and routine, and this sense of responsibility can be beneficial for mental health. This sense of responsibility can be great for children, and this bond that animals have with their children can also help those children in expressing their emotions. Highly trained service animals or equine-assisted therapy can be essential in the care of folks who are struggling with PTSD. We can see how integral animals can be in healing, how our connections with them run deep. Our connection with our animals also becomes apparent when they are injured. Humans are wired for empathy, and we naturally share in the distress of our animals. We feel empathy for them on a level as deep as if they were humans. It's painful to see our loved ones in distress and not know how to help. We may feel guilty wondering if we do enough for them, but I assure you that this guilt only means that you care, and the fact that you care makes you a great pet owner. We have a fantastic vet clinic in Neepawa. You have any concerns about your pet, don't hesitate to reach out to them. Everyone is very welcoming. Finally, our connection with our animals shows when they pass away. The grief that comes with the loss of a pet is very real, and for some can feel as painful as losing a human family member. To these individuals, their deceased loved one was not just an animal. They were a living, breathing representation of love. There is no prescribed time limit on how long it takes someone to grieve, and grieving the loss of a pet is no exception. If you have lost a pet and are struggling, don't be afraid to reach out for help for someone who understands. Honor your pet's life through books, photos, or rituals. Honor your pet in death, but most of all, honor them in life with how you treat them each day. And moving on, the Valley Life Recreation reveals joint funding commitment. The grand opening for the new trailhead at Squirrels Hills Trail Park slated for the summer. And pictured is a view of the new trailhead at Squirrel Hills Trail Park in Minnedosa. This view was photographed in November 2024. At left is the Ole Skilts Park, a partial view of the pavilion area is seen at the right, with the parking area visible just behind it. Washrooms will be installed in the parking lot this year. The date for a grand announcement is drawing ever closer for Minnedosa's Valley Life Recreation. On February 27th, the Recreation Committee released a public statement noting that capital construction at the Squirrel Hills Trail Park is entering its final phase. The construction in question is related to the ongoing development of the trailhead, which includes a pavilion with a cement pad and more. While a specific date could not be shared at this time, Valley Life Recreation shared that the grand opening date is soon to be announced for this summer. Also of interest to the public within the release was the reveal of the receipt of funding in the amount of $28,428. This funding comes via a joint commitment between the Minnedosa and District Foundation and the Brandon Area Community Foundation. Collaboratively, these organizations are funding 100% of the cost for installing a 2-stall bathroom at the new trailhead, said Valley Life Recreation. Each community foundation is covering half of the project cost. The committee added, the Board of Valley Life Recreation continues to be exceptionally grateful for this strong community foundation support. In a recent release, Valley Life Recreation explained that this new commitment complements one made previously by each organization in 2021, which totaled $22,500 each. We are committed to supporting organizations like Valley Life Recreation that bring long-term value to their community. Their thoughtful and thorough approach to recreation planning, their commitment to environmental sustainability, and their dedication to creating inclusive spaces for all is just a few of the reasons we are so proud to support this project, said the Brandon Area Community Foundation. Valley Life Recreation is led by a professional, forward-thinking team, and their standards for quality and community engagement are inspiring. This organization not only developed an incredibly thoughtful plan, but they did so with a commitment to high standards and collaborating with the local Indigenous communities and other professionals to preserve the natural beauty of our local landscape. The Minnedosa and District Foundation expressed a similar sentiment in the media release, stating, the Minnedosa and District Foundation is committed to enhancing the quality of life for citizens of Minnedosa by promoting charitable, recreational, educational, and cultural endeavors through annual grants to community projects and organizations and scholarships to promising students. Supporting the Squirrel Hills Trail Park contributes to quality of life and a healthy lifestyle for those who live and visit here, and helps to create a well-rounded community. According to Valley Life Recreation, the bathroom will be akin to the off-grid bathroom design which can be commonly found at regional and national parks. This means that it will feature one regular-sized bathroom and one sized for accessibility. These bathrooms will be installed just off the new parking lot, adjacent to the new trailhead, further complementing the experience all users will discover when they visit the trail park, said Valley Life Recreation. They will also serve as a significant asset for the many events the trail park will be hosting in 2025 and years beyond. Installation is expected to take place this spring, being led by Birch Construction. Although expected to be installed this spring, is brand new signage. Designs for the new signs are currently underway and can be expected to include trail maps, trail names, and recognition for the donors and partners that Valley Life states help bring this project to life. Those wishing to support the ongoing projects at the Squirrel Heads Trail Park may still do so by contacting Valley Life Recreation via email at valleyliferec@gmail.com or by contacting any Valley Life Recreation board member. MLH Canada Reads Returns to Arts Forward, submitted by the Margaret Lawrence Home. Can one book have the power to change how we see, experience, and share the world around us? At a time when it can feel like we are stuck in a particularly unpleasant fiction, can a story change the narrative? That is the question posed in this year's CBC Canada Reads. At 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 18th, Arch Forward will be the host of the Margaret Lawrence Home's version of this event. 5 local presenters will give brief talks about the 5 books selected this year's. Attendees will be able to enjoy different perspectives on the chosen titles, tasty charcuterie, a variety of beverages, and the company of like-minded friends and readers. While the radio-TV event is a competitive debate with a single winner emerging, our much more friendly get-together is a chance to celebrate Canadian perspectives on many complex issues that face our world through stories real and fictional. Copies of all 5 books are available for purchase during the evening, thanks to participation of Manitoba's independent bookseller, McNally Robinson. Information about the 5 selections and their national presenters are available on the CBC website. Our homegrown Neepawa presenters are Caitlin Henderson, Lane England, Marvin Beaumont, Karen Beaumont, and Cathy Patterson. Admission to this event is $15. Proceeds are a fundraiser for the Margaret Lawrence Home. Bar service by Arts Forward volunteers is available. There will be a door prize of your choice from the 5 titles, or a copy of a Margaret Lawrence classic you've been meaning to read. Join us for a great evening, March 18th at Arts Forward. Note that the books selected for this year's edition of Canada Reads are Watch Out for Her by Samantha M. Bailey, A Two-Spirit Journey by Mani Jacoby with Mary Louisa Plummer, Etta and Otto and Russell and James by Emma Hooper, Jenny's Boy by Wayne Johnson, and Dandelion by Jamie Chan Yun Lu. Further details of each of these books can be found at the Canada Reads website, hosted by the CBC. And pictured the future of cattle farming. When asked, cousins Elijah and Luke said they were setting up for a bull sale. Their sisters in the background obviously provided support, as do so many farm women. It's also rewarding to see the next generation of important cattle industry events like the Canadian Central Simmental and Angus sale held March 3rd at the Beautiful Plains Ag Complex, Neepawa. Elijah and Maren Ginter's parents are Matthew and Taylor. Luke and Laura Ginter's parents are Joss and Dana. And Western music performed at Kinsman Courts. Pictured the musical group of Good Old Boys performed in Neepawa at Kinsman Courts on February 19th by Jean Bocart. On Wednesday, February 19th, residents of Kinsman Courts 1 and 2 were entertained by a group they called themselves the Good Old Boys. They are Dan Lucier, John Cullen, both of Minnedosa, and Jim Danino, who hails from Neepawa. The performance began at 2 p.m., and those 38 in attendance didn't want them to quit, so by 3:30 p.m. their voices were getting all ready to say adios. Danny could say this in French, LOL. Strawberry daiquiris were served to those wanting one by Barb Owen and prepared by Corey Ford. Hats off to all those who came to enjoy a wonderful afternoon planned by our activity director, Corey Ford. Residents, be prepared for more Fridays of great entertainment. And Bulls on Parade, Canadian Central Simmental and Angus Bull Sale a Success by Joshua Jackson, Neepawa Banner and Press. And pictures this year's Canadian Central Simmental and Angus Bull Sale saw over 60 people attending in person and many more tuning in online, with buyers from as far away as Wyoming in the United States. It was a packed barn at the Stride Exhibition Grounds as the 2025 Canadian Central Simmental and Angus Bull Sale took place, with over 60 people attending in person and many more online for their chance to own high-quality livestock. The Bascam Land and Cattle, based out of Riding Mountains, has been selling bulls for approximately 9 years. President of BASKM, Brad Ginter, said he was pleased with this year's event. We had a great lineup of bulls, from the yearling Simmentals to the 2-year-old Angus bulls. A tick up in price from last year, he said. We couldn't be more pleased. We have a lot of repeat buyers, which says a lot about us. People trust our program. Ginter emphasized that we are very grateful for our buyers and for the next generation, Matthew and Taylor getting involved. Ginter expressed thanks for sale management done by T-Bar C Cattle Company. Many other local cattle farms were in attendance to auction off their stock, including Wilcox Simmentals and Livestock, Twin Meadows Livestock, Twin Oak Livestock, all out of Treeherne, and Little Chicks Cattle Company out of Austin. At the auction, Ginter was selling off some of BASKM's Angus bulls at the sale. We are unique in the way that they are 2-year-olds. They are pasture-raised, and are grass-fed 2 summers in a row. We believe that is for longevity, so the bulls aren't tired of barley, and this is where we think we have a bit of a niche market. Ginter added he's seen an upward trend in bull sales and values in the market, which is positive for his business. Over 38 bovines were sold at the auction, and the average price for Angus bulls at the sale was $8,458. The Simmentals were $6,861 for an average sale price of $7,500. Buyers were purchasing in person and online from as far away as Wyoming in the United States. The rancher noted getting bulls ready for sale is a tedious process. We do a semen test to make sure the bulls pass, so when the producer takes it home, they can throw the bull out into the pasture. These bulls are pasture raised until 1.5 years, so we breed them for longevity, said Ginter. Although this is far from the first auction the cattle producer has been part of, he still gets nervous during sales. It's a great feeling. It gets the blood pumping, and we love this business. We get to work with a good group of people and other producers. It's a fun industry, he said. We bring our best bulls forward every year, and it's a thrill and a bit of a rush for us. The rancher added a lot of effort is put into care of livestock, and as tedious as the work may be, it's also rewarding. It's a lot of work as far as making sure you have the right bloodlines, the ones doing well, and it's a big job. We do it with my son and daughter-in-law, their family, and my wife. We're excited about the cattle industry. It's a lot of work, but we enjoy it. And on to sports. A generational shift happening in Neepawa. Recent wins guarantee Neepawa Titans their first winning season since 2010. And a picture, this year's version of the Neepawa Titans has reason to celebrate, as they have achieved a level of success in the MJHL that has not been seen since 2010, by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Titans recently achieved a milestone that has been almost 15 years in the making. With their latest victories over the Wawasee-Kappa Wolverines and Winnipeg Freeze, the Titans have picked up 61 points in 53 games, with 5 games left on their schedule. These results have ensured Neepawa will have a winning record come at the end of the MJHL's regular season. The last time the Titans had this amount of success was back in 2010, when TikTok was still just the name of a random pop song, flip phones were still the pinnacle of style, and our hockey team was still called the Natives. What a difference a decade and a half can truly make. For Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson, this achievement was all simply another part of the long-term plan for the franchise. 5-6 years ago, when the former team president Ken Waddell and I started talking about possibly coming back here, we knew we had a lot of work to do. So now to see back-to-back years in the playoffs, as well as 1 year missing out on the postseason by a single point, it's good to see this organization take that next step in the regular season. I think that's certainly something that we have hopefully we would see, and hope that will continue for many, many years to come. Comparatively, Neepawa is a small market franchise with the MJHL, competing with heavyweights such as Steinbach, Winkler, and Dauphin. These clubs, as well as a few others, have more resources at their disposal to build a successful program. Pearson said members of the board, along with the other coaching staff, volunteers, and supporters, have worked together to give the Titans a chance to compete. He said the dedication is why the club's successful turnaround on the ice belongs to everyone off of it. Team captain Cooper Kasprick has a very unique perspective on the Titans' progress these last few years, as he is a born and bred Neepawa resident. The 19-year-old center has seen firsthand the lean years for the Titans natives. Having said that, Kasprick told the Banner and Press that the achievement is not something that players have really discussed inside the dressing room all that much this year. We haven't really thought too much about the previous years. We've just focused on this year and what we can control. But as we get closer to the end of the season and start focusing in the playoffs, seeing what we've been able to accomplish, we're just proud to do what we can for the community, said Kasprick. The fans have been so supportive of us through it all, the good, the bad. To be able to put together the type of season for them is something we're proud of. We hope to keep going with that and give them something to be proud of in the playoffs. With this year's results should be appreciated. The team wants this type of success to be the expectation, not the exception, for Neepawa. Ken Pearson said everyone involved with changing the culture understands how special this turnaround has been, but they also understand that work doesn't stop. I talked to a guy recently, actually about some of the challenges that we do have here, and he was happy to see that our club was doing as well as it was. So yeah, it's satisfying for a smaller franchise like us to see that success in the regular season, and for others outside of Neepawa to see what we're trying to do and appreciate it, said Pearson. I want Neepawa to be a place of destination that, kids from this area will want to come and play, and kids from even outside of our area want to be a part of. Winning certainly helps, but we've got to make sure that you're treating your players and your families the right way off the ice, making sure that they feel that they are part of the organization. And I think that, we have a committee that does a good job of that. And NACI Tigers set for WHSHL playoffs by Owen Devereaux. A 4-goal effort from Wyatt Negevin powered the Neepawa Tigers to a 5-4 victory over the RGG Raiders on Wednesday, February 26. Cohen Kalbaki scored the other goal for NACI in the game, while also adding 3 assists. Ian Foster, 3 assists, Brooklyn Boersma, 1 assist, and Zach Platt, 1 assist, also contributed to help the Tigers close out their Westman High School Hockey League regular season schedule with a 21-8-3 record. That is good enough for 6th place overall in the league standings. As for the year-end numbers from the player perspective, Cohen Kalbaki led Neepawa with 49 goals and 54 assists for a combined 103 points in just 32 games. That amount put him 2nd place in overall league scoring, as Vincent Massey's Josh Romanuk was first with 106 points. Meanwhile, Ian Foster finished in 10th place in the league scoring with 73 points, 34 goals, 39 assists, followed closely by teammate Wyatt Negevin, 41 goals, 31 assists, 72 points. Next up will be the postseason, as Neepawa's 6th place finish matches them up with the 12th ranked GCB Wildcats in the first round. And Neepawa Farmers, Minnedosa Bombers both bounced from THH playoffs by Owen Devereaux. The Tiger Hills Hockey League, THHL, season is over for both the Neepawa Farmers and the Minnedosa Bombers, as each club was bounced from the playoffs over the weekend. For Neepawa, they were swept by the Killarney Shamrocks after falling 7-3 in Game 3 of the best-of-5 series. Garrett Rempel, Ryland Bray, and Riley Davey each scored for the Farmers in this game, which was played on Friday, February 28th in Cartwright. With the win, Killarney advances to the THHL West Division Final, where they will face the River Jets. Rivers earned its way to the next round by defeating the Minnedosa Bombers 3-1. Much like their counterparts in real life, the Jets just proved to be too much faster than the Bombers, as River outscored Minnedosa combined 11-0 in the final 2 games of the series. Meanwhile, the West Division, the Verdun Oil Kings and Hartney Blues each won their respective series and will face off in the next round. And Caden Hegarty named one of MJHL's Players of the Month and submitted. The Manitoba Junior Hockey League, MJHL, is pleased to announce the monthly Players Awards. For February, Caden Hegarty of the Neepawa Titans earned the Manitoba Pork Peak Performer honor. In just 10 games, Hegarty had 17 points, including 5 multi-point outings. Caden has been a driving force for the Neepawa Titans and has helped his club to secure at least a third-place finish in the MJHL's West Division heading into playoffs. And fishing fun at Lake Irwin. The Neepawa Wildlife Association has wrapped up its 12th annual Lake Irwin Classic Fishing Derby held March 1st. A total of 35 fish were submitted in the adult division and 4 in the youth division. There were a total of 25 youth participants who all went home with new ice fishing rods from Stillwater Adventures. Pictured top left, Lincoln Klassen was presented with the Terry Colason Memorial Youth Largest Fish Award for an 81-centimeter pike. Congratulations are also extended to youth anglers Kenzie Bagnall, Jason Mendel, and Farron Broder for also catching fish. Pictured top right, Merv Kaparski snagged the first place in the adult division, earning $500 for a catch measuring 86 centimeters. And pictured right, a pair of ecstatic anglers show off a lively-looking catch. Other awards presented were Ralph Drager, hidden length 53 centimeters, Tyson Tarrin, hidden time 1:10 p.m., Michael Zook, smallish fish 46 centimeters, Menchie McCamus was the 50-50 draw winner for $680. And curlers hurry hard at Ridey Mountain. The Ridey Mountain Curling Club held their bonspiel on February 21st to 22nd. The A-side winner was the Wayne Scott Rink, and the B-side winner was the Dave Cosman team. Pictured here is some action on ice during the Saturday curling. The lunch counter was a busy place with lots of good bonspiel food served up. A delicious supper was served Friday evening at the Ridey Mountain Hall. Pictured a pair of curlers look on as a rock slides into place within the house. And the Gladstone Cattle Market Report by Tyler Slowinski. The weather may have come into this month like a lamb, but the market correction we are seeing over the global trade war is definitely creating a bearish market. Market uncertainty had the cattle futures down the limit, the American dollar lower, and the Canadian dollar higher to start the trade this Tuesday, March 4th. These factors were all negative to start the trade, but the futures regained a fair chunk of what they had lost. Even though the numbers all align for a fantastic market, there are so many political factors that could affect our future cattle market, creating so many uncertainty that some political stability can be found. We have marketed high volumes of cattle leading up to now, and I truly think supply and demand will recreate some market stability. We are experiencing all-time lows when it comes to cattle numbers in many parts of the world. We are seeing a market correction for the time being. How long will it last? We aren't sure. Hopefully it's a short-term disruption and we can find some market neutrality moving forward. Lighter cattle seemed to take the biggest hit on Tuesday when it came to correction. The market was back in just about all classes. Cattle that will be fit for grass are selling quite strong, all things considered. The trade March 4th could have been much worse. We saw a very impressive set of cattle March 4th and very good quality. First cut cattle are selling strong. Most of the feeder cattle sold well, all things considered. Second and third cut cattle are definitely seeing big discounts. If they don't fit the orders, they are soon sorted from the packages. The cattle are still in demand, and I expect to see supply and demand create market stability moving forward. We sold 858 cattle through the ring on Gladstone on Tuesday. Cows and bulls are trended with lower averages. Feeding type cows and heiferettes are still selling stronger than yielding cows. Yielding cows still traded with strength from 173 to 183, looking like strong demands. Feeding cows are ranging between 184 to 199. Bulls traded softer, ranging between 205 to 217.25. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Here's a look at the feeder market. Some highlights from the sale: crossbred steers weighed 461, traded for a decent 553 per pound. Tan steers weighed 535 and traded for 493. Black steers weighed 637 and brought 449.5. Crossbred steers weighed 753 pounds and they hit 396. A set of fancy silver steers weighed 809 and they checked out at 368. Heifers, red-white faced heifers, weighed 475 and traded for 475. Crossbred heifers weighed 594 and brought 395. Crossbred heifers weighed 671 and made 386. Black heifers weighed 710 and traded for 369. And Looking Back by Casper Werhan. 125 years ago, March 7th, 1900. The masquerade carnival at the rink on Thursday night was not so well attended as the first one. Those in costume, although few in numbers, had taken more care in their get-ups and presented many pleasing effects. 100 years ago, 1925. Oakdale. There is to be a checker drive at the school on Friday the 6th. Supposedly sand clouds overhung the horizon in all directions yesterday. The optimists say it is a sign of milder weather, while the pessimists declare there are tempests on the way. We shall see. 75 years ago, 1950. Kelwood. A former Kelwood resident, Carrie Mulligan, was heard on February 26 on the program Opportunity Knocks from Montreal. Terry, who has been studying voice for the past 3 years, is en route to England to continue his studies. 50 years ago, March 1975. Effective March 1st, the Roxy Theatre in Neepawa is under the ownership of 3 former Saskatchewan residents, Don Zaba and Myriman Norma Hauser, and they are pictured here on the right. The 3 took over the operation of the theatre from former owner Merv Ray, and arrangements are in the works for them to take control of the airline drive-in. Whoops. The new owners said they are looking forward to working and living in Neepawa. Several hundred adults, students, and children viewed the Parkland Museum train while it was on the track in McCreary, February 25th to 28th. It was most interesting to see the many photographs of early settlers and the display of tools and household articles with which they worked. Heather Parrott, star goaltender of the Neepawa Blades girls hockey team, has allowed only 27 goals in the 24 games she has played. She also blanked opposing scorers 6 times. Achievement night for students at Viscount School and their parents was a resounding success, with between 450 and 500 in attendance. And 20 years ago, March 2005. The chairman of the NEPEX organizing committee has nothing but high hopes for this year's version of the trade show. The large-scale exhibitors will be set up in the Yellowhead Arena. In addition, Grant Lucan said this space is being made available in the hall area, making some booths smaller. Neepawa has been recognized as the province's most beautiful town by the Manitoba Good Roads Association. How time flies. It has been 22 years since Neepawa celebrated its 100th anniversary and the publishing of the heritage book Neepawa Land of Plenty, 1883 to 1983. Glenella. The juvenile broombridle provincials were held February 19th and 20th in St. Claude. Glenella captured gold, defeating Haywood in a 3-0 final. Bronze winners were the McDonald team. And finally, as usual, there's our Kids Scoop page. And this week, they're focusing on the snowy owl. There's information and games and contests all related to the snowy owl. So be sure and get your kids to see it. And that concludes the Neepawa Banner and Press for Friday, March 7th, 2025. I hope you enjoyed.